Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Now, I saw this news story right here about the Doomsday Clock. Now, personally, I'm not a big fan of the Doomsday Clock when you consider how it was created by the people who made the nuclear weapons, the atomic weapons. And I guess they came up with a clock to go along with it, because they saw that other people were starting to make nuclear weapons as well. And they said, well, we have to make this timing system. And now we see the Doomsday Clock. Threat of oblivion pits humanity at 3 minutes to midnight, experts say. And this is the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. And they recently had a meeting, and they decided that they're going to leave the clock as it is, 3 minutes to midnight. Now, my view of the clock is it reminds me of kind of a retro version of the terror scale, whatever you call that, the color-coded deal, the terror watch. And, it's red one day, it's orange, and the next day it's green the other day. But nobody really knows, because even if there isn't a terrorist attack, you could be killed in a carjacking or, get shot at a liquor store, have some guy kicking your door at 3 in the morning. Any number of things could happen to you, even if you don't get attacked by a terrorist. So here's probably my favorite explanation of the Doomsday Clock, courtesy of a comic book.
My father was a watchmaker. He abandoned it when Einstein discovered that time is relative. I would only agree that a symbolic clock is as nourishing to the intellect as a photograph of oxygen to a drowning man.
So you're saying there is no danger?
Even in a world without nuclear weapons, there would still be danger.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Manhattan. Yeah, and the thing about this is it's always a nuclear war on the horizon, or it's always World War III, or I guess technically World War IV, because the Cold War was World War III. But yeah, I don't really get off on saying that, nuclear war is imminent. Now, is it possible? Most definitely. They have the weapons to do it, not just us, all around the world, as many other things are possible. But I don't think it's something that's imminent or something that you should concern yourself with in the immediate future. And also in that the book, The Watchmen, the comedian, the character in the book says, if those nukes do start flying, all of us are going to be dust. There's nothing we can do about it anyway. So don't worry about nuclear war. I mean, if you have the ear of a general or somebody else who has their finger on the button, yeah, you may try to keep them at ease. But just for the normal person out on the street, you can protest nukes and all that stuff. But if they hit that button, there ain't too much you can do to stop it. All right, now let's move on to some other news and talk about a possible nuclear situation at the White House as far as the candidates we have to choose from. It seems that Obama is starting to stray away from Hillary and is now embracing Bernie Sanders, Colonel Sanders, as it were. And we see Obama turns against Hillary, brings Sanders to White House. Obama's invitation to the underdog presidential candidate, who until recently struggled to break free of Hillary's dominance, comes as sources reveal the FBI is ready to indict Clinton and are even willing to blow the whistle and go public with their findings if the Attorney General does not press charges against the Democratic frontrunner. So seems like they're trying to get all the horses in the stable ready. And that's pretty much what politics is. And that's really how I view these presidential debates and all that. It's like Jesse Ventura said. He said politics is just like wrestling, right? I hate this guy and this guy is this and that and he's a whatever. And meanwhile, they go into bars together, hanging out and having steak dinners. And then they elect each other as vice president or attorney general, even though they supposedly hate each other. And that's quite honestly my view of Trump. Among other things, I'm just not very convinced that he is a mortal enemy with Hillary Rodham Clinton. For the mere fact that he, by his own admission, invited her to his wedding. I've heard of keep your friends close and your enemies close. So I've never heard of invite your enemy to your wedding, but we'll talk more about Trump here in a little bit. But yeah, Bernie Sanders, I'm not feeling the burn. I've talked about him here before. If I was 17, 18 years old, I may be attracted to the campaign promises of Bernie Sanders. So I don't really fault the young people out there who are really feeling the burn. But at the same time, being much older than that, over a decade older than that now, I understand that free stuff isn't free. And I believe Bernie Sanders said, yeah, we're going to pay for your free health care by upping your taxes. You're like, well, how is it free if you have to up my taxes to pay for it? Like, yeah, they could call it free and affordable all they want. It doesn't make it so. Just like I can call this, instead of calling it a necktie, I can call it an elongated neck apparatus. It doesn't change the fact that it's a necktie. You can call it a kinetic action. It doesn't change the fact that it's a war or a act of aggression, but they just use all these words and semantics to confuse you, the American populace. But and so don't be confused by Sanders and Hillary. I don't think either of them are very good candidates. Personally, I can say the same thing for many, many Republicans as well. Like I said before, if the election was to be held tomorrow, I'll probably go for Rand Paul, but he's having some trouble in the polls. And quite honestly, I didn't think Rand was going to get there anyway, not because he was a bad candidate. I don't agree with everything he says, but I think he's better than most people, but just because the fact he's not establishment enough. You know, he's out there protesting wars and talking about NSA spying and domestic police state and all this other stuff. And I don't think the establishment likes that. He's rocking the boat too much. He's not in bed with the military industrial complex, because for all these candidates, like, I want to end war, just Obama, for example, you know, he criticized Bush in his perpetual war design, you know, going into Iraq and all these other areas over yellow cake lies. Meanwhile, he's going into Libya, he's going into Syria, Pakistan, Yemen, and he has the technicality that's like, well, I don't so much have boots on the ground, but he has drones in the sky blowing up wedding parties and all that. And that's how these guys skate by on their technicalities. Now, something that's very interesting to me, people so often say that nobody's coming for your guns. There are no gun restrictions. Nobody's trying to limit your access to a firearm. Well, take note of these stories. City demands firearm applicants write essay explaining a need for a gun. Now, notice, they're not kicking in your door and taking your gun. They're not, you know, doing some type of confiscation. But they're saying you will have to convince us of your need for a firearm, not because you have a Second Amendment, but you're going to have to explain to us why you need a firearm. A new policy in a Massachusetts town imposes a burdensome step to residents who want to obtain a license to carry a firearm, an essay exam, in a $1,000 training seminar. And the guy says, I will never write an essay to get my rights from he says, I will never write an essay to get my rights as an American citizen. And that was Don Gannon. And that's something he said during a city council meeting. And I do agree with this gentleman here. You should not have to convince the government to give you your rights. You should say, hey, I want my rights, and that's pretty much the end of it. Now, something else for everybody who says there is no such thing as a gun registry. It's a conspiracy theory. It's something that the right wing cooked up to scare you about your gun rights. California gun seizure program needs money. California State Department of Justice's Armed and Prohibited Persons system, which uses lists of firearm owners cross-referenced with criminal and mental health records to identify once legal gun owners who may be in possession of weapons in violation of the law. Now, regardless if you think this program is a good idea or not, that's not the point I'm trying to make here. They say there is no list, there is no registry, there is no way to track who or who doesn't have a firearm. The Armed and Prohibited Persons system, which uses list of firearm owners. Now, once again, you may think it's good to cross-reference these lists. My point that I'm making here is they say there is no list. There is a list right here on this paper. This is guns.com, I believe January 26, 2016. You can go look it up for yourself. And this is just one example. There's so many other places there is no list of gun owners. In New York, they listed people like they were sex offenders in the newspaper. Project Veritas did a story about that. You can go look that up, but of course, these lists don't exist. Now let's talk about something that's pretty stupid. I'll just call it what it is. Social justice warriors complained that Martin Luther King was not inclusive enough. The advocate of nonviolence and human rights and liberties and all this stuff, who wrote the I Have a Dream speech, they say that he's not inclusive enough because he didn't include people like transgenders. And one of the students was quoted, this is Mia Ashley, diversity is so much more than race. Obviously, race still plays a big role, but for people who have who identify differently in gender and all sorts of things like that, they should be included as well. So yeah, and also the quote that they want to take off of MLK, they said the quote that he replaced was previously there, and it was removed because it didn't use the word human race. It referred to the human race as man. Just more silliness right there. And we'll wrap up our segment with this before we go into more special reports. Many people, big guests on the show today, like Robert Tosh Plumley, who flew for the CIA. Bilderberg elite, he's saying the global super elite must stop Donald Trump at all costs. Basically, they're saying that Trump is not establishment enough. I do agree that Trump is not an establishment candidate, but it doesn't mean I want him to be our next president of the United States.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, you can get 6 months free at prisonplanet.tv, but only for 1 more week. Next Monday, the special that only comes around once a year ends. In fact, we've never offered 6 months free before, but I really want to get more people to join and to be able to watch the nightly news, to see the live reports we do, the special reports, all my films, ebooks, and so much more. One person can share their membership with 20 people, and you are funding the absolute very leading edge, the vanguard of the resistance to the globalist operation on every front. We have to have our own platform that is harder for them to censor, harder for the system to shut down. prisonplanet.tv. We put out the daily radio show free with the video and audio feeds at Infowars.com/show. But it is the members that get the nightly news exclusively and first, and the commercial-free video podcast and audio podcast that are paying it forward and financing and helping so many other people see the truth when we put the videos on Facebook, YouTube, and it's prisonplanet.tv that finances so much of the cameras, the equipment, the crew, the reporters. You are becoming a prisonplanet.tv member. You get exclusive HD, higher quality, get it first, and then you can download it, share it with friends and family, share your passcode with them, your username. It's a win-win, and then you're helping finance to put it out for free to everybody. prisonplanet.tv. Clean, pure drinking water. You can't survive without it. But where do you get it? Alexa Pure Pro is a brand new, groundbreaking, gravity-fed water filtration system that is like no other. The Alexa Pure Pro transforms water from virtually any fresh source into clean, healthy drinking water. Save $20 off the retail price and get free shipping. This is a limited time offer, so order your unit today and receive free shipping and $20 off. Go to InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139.